Okay, one thing that's kind of fun is they have chopstick rests, and you can use that for putting your pen on as a pen rest. This is one that's in the shape of a fortune cookie. But anyway, they're handy. Another thing they have is little toothpick holders, and those are just the right size for, you can add ink to it, or if you need water that you can dip your pointed pen into, that's just the perfect size for dipping. And little water containers. That one has a fish at the bottom. And then these just cost pennies. All these things that I'm showing you, probably $2 or less. Little sake cups are handy for ink or water, mixing gouache, all kinds of stuff. Another thing they have is candle holders that make really good ink holders too, that are heavy, that that won't tip over. I found this one, it's kind of fun. It's a water dripper. You load it with a pipette, and then when you add water to your ink, you just do it a drip at a time.
That is so funny. I've got one of those. I had no idea what it was. Thank you.
It's a water dripper. And these work really well with, right. Just a few drips at a time. They also sell ink sticks. And so these are perfect for ink sticks because you just need to add a drip at a time and then make your own ink. But they have all different kinds of ink sticks for just like $1 or $2. And then they have Sumi ink, probably not Moon Palace brand, but I've had good luck with every bottle of Sumi ink that I've bought at an Asian market. So anyway, that's my.
So where's an Asian market?
There's one on 90th South, or another one on 45th South and State. There's a really good one in Roy, if you get up that way. I think it's called Ocean Mart. That has the best. I really love Ocean Mart. It's a fun place.
So is that up by where Kmart used to be? Is it a little bit farther?
No, it used to be in Albertsons. Just at the Roy exit, it's on the west side of the road, just barely after you get off the freeway. That's my favorite one. But yeah, they have all kinds of really good art supplies there for not very much money. So anyway, that's my tool time.
Cool. Thank you very much. Yay! I've never seen a dripper. That's cool. We learn something new every day. Should learn something new every day. Awesome. Thank you, Erica. Sure. Let's see. My brain just quit working. Sorry, that's a common thing. Does anyone want to show any homework that they've done?
Matt, I just wanted to mention we've had the first glimmering of a bookmark event from Janice up in Ogden. There's going to be the Chalk Festival one in August. So just a heads up, that's coming.
Okay, awesome. So do we need to send out information on that?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
It will be August 26th, and it's an all-day event because it starts the night before, but I don't have any more details.
Cool.
We will easy up that we're under. So,
Janice, what was the date again?
August 26th. It's a Saturday. It starts the night before on Friday at 5, and then they chalk through the night and then finish the next day.
Were we going to do homework at the end?
Yes, we're doing homework at the end.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah, I got a text on that and I was thinking homework assignment, not homework. So, okay, my brain quit working again. Once again, I did it wrong. Okay. Brecken, did you want to do that homework thing at the end too? Showing you how to show your stuff online? Okay.
We'll do it in the last 20 minutes. So if you have a second to grab something, you'll need your phone and whatever you want to show, and we'll have a little sharing time at the end. So it's really easy, and I'll walk you through it, and then we'll get to see each other's work. So stick around.
Cool. Very good. Okay, I'll wait to give out the movie of the month, or do you want that now?
Do it now.
Okay, the movie of the month is My Fair Lady. And it is on Netflix right now. So
Yay!
I've already watched it twice. It's a good Sunday afternoon movie. I like to watch videos on. And let's see. Yeah, My Fair Lady or Star Wars. And some of you know the Disney Channel now has Bad Batch out. And my son and I watch that religiously. We've been watching The Mandalorian. So the quote of the month is "The rain in Spain stays mainly on the plain." Or you can do a quote from Chewbacca. Erg, arg, erg, arg, erg. Okay, that's your chance to practice repeating letters. That's why I chose that one. So we'll send that out too. Okay, so if nothing else, I really want to get into Bookhand. So let's get it's. I hope I called that right. Yeah, it is Bookhand. I keep wanting to call it foundational too. So, oh, Liz, do you want to go over the Legacies conference coming up?
I don't have a heck of a lot. I send out a little flyer day before yesterday, I think. But I can tell you the cost now is $599. I will also tell you that I think their website is very difficult to find things on.
Yeah, it is.
And so I've had a lot of people ask me things, like Carol asked, not Carol, or not our Carol with an E, Carol without an E, asked me how much it was. And it took me until I got to most frequently asked questions. And then I found out how much it was. And I thought, you know, if that has to be under most frequently asked questions, somehow they've missed the boat on putting out the cost. So, but anyway, it's a good price. $599 is a good price. There's a lot of different things you can choose. You can choose 5 different classes, or you can do a 3-day class and a 2-day class, or, you know, whatever. So they give you a lot of choices, and there are some really excellent teachers. And you can also, after you've paid your money, then you can also buy a class. So if there's a class you want to take and you just don't have any space in your time, then you could buy that class. Hello, gosh. There we are. You can buy that class and then watch it, you know, so you can, it would be recorded and then you can watch it over and over again. And you have access to these classes after the conference. So it's a really good deal. It's just, I thought the website was kind of hard to do, but I don't think anybody will regret paying the money and going. So that's it.
Well, not going, but.
Well, going online. Okay, you gonna turn this over to Faye?
Yeah, I
Faye,
think we're ready.
We're ready for you. Bring it on, sister.
So,
So, I guess you can actually see me, which is your treat for the day or your punishment, depending on your personality. I want to talk about a couple of things before I talk about the letter forms. I want to talk about first, I prefer to look through and trace. For tracing paper, I never use tracing paper. I use marker paper, and I prefer I think it's
Canson.
There's Canson and there is Borden Riley, and they both work. One's a little more translucent than the other one.
Why don't we hold this up?
Yeah. And I like them both. And obviously one teacher asked for one and one teacher asked for another.
Okay, this is well, you can see it kind of,
Yeah.
if you can read it through backwards. This is the Cotton Cob, the Borden Riley. I think Borden and Riley is a little harder to find here,
Yeah, it is.
but you can get, I know
Hanson.
you can get this Canson marker paper at Michael's.
And both of them work really well. You can just shove that back over there.
Okay. All right.
And when I start an alphabet, if there is if they offer a monoline rather than a skeleton, I prefer monoline because then you can use it again. Skeletons are just dead center, and monolines are actual letter forms that are attractive. But I trace them with a pencil. And I did this before, and I'm going to show it to you. I think you can probably.
No, you can't. You have to get it right under here.
Oh, right under there.
Right under that camera.
Oh, okay. So can you see that?
Well,
Not yet. Liz, you'll need to share the screen.
Okay. I will share. Here we go. Here we go, share. And we're going to go up here to basic and ladybug and share. I'm getting better at this. Whoops. There.
I do it with a pencil, and I do it with this darker pencil. And I brought 2 or 3, but we're not going to talk about pencils. Just an ordinary number 2 will work. But I did want to show you the direction you need to practice these letters. And I'm going to do this very rapidly, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to trace a few yourself. On the A, I come over and I come down, and then I do the little bowl, and then I do the in. The reason is I want us always to be going these 2 directions when we can, because once you put a pen to it, the pen doesn't really like to go backwards nor upwards. Sometimes we have to force it. And then I'm showing you where the break places are. These are the places where we break. And we break here, and I'm going to show you the G, because the G in this alphabet doesn't show up in any other alphabet. So I'm hoping you can, yes, you can see that.
They can see.
Now I'm going to trace it through, and I'm going to start here and come around. Then I'm going to come back, and I'm going to make this one continuous motion. I'm going to put the little hat on him, and then I'm going to come around and join. So I'd like everybody to make an A and a G, and then any of the other letter forms that you want. If you really want to learn this alphabet, you're going to have to first trace it, and then do it when you're not tracing it with a pencil. And we're working just about a ½ an inch tall. And I'm going to give you until about 26 after to do a little tracing. Your body will learn, and your mind will learn without the pressure of thinking thicks and thins and my pen is spitting at me, or my pen is dry, and all of those other pen questions as you do this. For monoline, I even use markers. Sometimes I use pencil, I use colored pencil, I use pointed pen. I use a very, very, very small B nib, and they work wonderfully. They do wonderful little monolines. So whatever you're comfortable with in making monolines, if you use them for even for a piece, feel very comfortable doing so.
Faye, could you show us the G one more time?
The G, certainly. If I can find my pencil, you want a lot from me here, don't you? I may actually be able to find something. Okay, are you watching? We're going to start right up here, and we're going to come around. Then we're going to take our pencil, and we're going to keep on going. I want you to see this letter as if this is a baseball. This is a golf ball. And this is a football. And because it's a ball player, it wears a little hat.
Thank you.
I had to talk to guys in my classes that had a language that didn't include some of the terminology that you guys would understand. Does that help you with it?
Oh, I got that one.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a couple of guys that will say, oh, yeah, oh, somebody finally explained it in my language. If there's any other letter you'd like me to show you, but you need to break so that you do not force your pen. And the reason with a pencil, you can do all kinds of things. But once you put a pen down, you cannot. And I'll give you a couple more minutes. You won't get through the alphabet. I want you to do this carefully, and I want you to do it with an eraser. Making a mistake teaches as much as doing it right. Doing it right, we start patting ourselves on the back and think we can do it right every time. But when we realize we've made a mistake, we really have to focus. And I make mistakes. Incidentally, the extraordinary down farther on that particular handout is very badly spaced. And as an exercise in spacing these, I'd like you to respace it when you trace it. But you're not going to have time to do it. You're going to have to, if you really are interested in this letter form, you'll have to do it after class.
Faye, is there a spacing guide? When you say that's not spaced very well, is there
Oh, you want to know what's the matter with it? In the extraordinary, I want you to look at the space, the white space between the E and the X. Then I want you to look at the white space between the I and the N. I did this on purpose because I was teaching spacing at the same time I was teaching this when I taught it in my classes. And I did that, and then I forced them to try to do it right. And they had a really hard time because it's so easy to squish the I and the N or the A and the R together. And yet here we are, we've got all our round letters at the front and a lot of our little tighter letters at the back end. And the back end doesn't look like it even is related to the front end. Now, spacing is a totally different set of animals. But just so for your information, that's kind of how it works. I did want to talk about, and we'll talk about this when we get to working with ink. But right now, I'm going to show you how effective and I'm hoping you can see some of this. This is a little book. It's just a very simple little book, but it uses a monoline. And I think it's quite effective. Can everybody kind of see that? Okay. I brought little books because I feel like it's basically this particular style is, I call it foundational, but there's different names for it. But any letter form that can be used as a text block and stay readable can be used as a bookhand. But this is the one we learned when we were your first books looked an awfully lot like these. And we had a little ball and a little stick, and the first grade teacher said, now we're going to put the stick and the ball together and we're going to make letters. And some of us were less successful than others. So, is everybody feeling really uncomfortable with this now? Then you're ready to learn. In general, this can be anywhere to be standard. It can be anywhere from about 3 pen widths high to about 4.5. And we're going to work at about 4.5 with a C2 and your ink. And I want you to have a little water and something to wipe your pen on. Just a paper towel is fine. What else do you, I want to talk about cover sheets. Anytime you begin to work on a piece of work, and if you get in a habit of doing this, then when you go to do a really nice piece, you will automatically do it. But one thing is you can have a piece of just colored paper underneath, and it'll kind of help you stay lined up too. The next thing you can have is you can cover your board with a piece of, and colored again, and you want it so that your paper can slide up and down. And the third thing you want, or you could use, is, and Liz just gave me this one, but I've cut up one too, just a cheap cotton glove. Oh, a cheap cotton glove. The glove, it leaves your writing hand available.
I actually bought those.
She bought them and she gave me one because she's a really nice friend.
I am.
But you could just get cotton gloves on Amazon or somewhere and just chop them up if you have to.
But
and it really does. It makes a difference. I have ruined pieces when I got to the bottom and I realized I'd either roughed up the paper or slicked it up, and your pen doesn't want to work.
Yeah, you get the oil from your.
You either have oil or you have a rough hand, and you raise some of the fibers up. So let's try to always use a piece of colored paper. That's why I ask you to have a little piece of colored paper under your hand, or a glove, which is just buy some on Amazon and chop them up, or get some of these nice that looks like
they're not expensive.
They're not expensive.
4 for $8, something like that.
Yeah. So
from Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon has everything almost, except 1 or 2 things you really need, and then it turns out they don't have it. But I'm going to talk a little bit. I generally, on this alphabet, I work at 30 degrees, and for 30, if you look on your graph pad and you go to the bottom of one square, move over to the top of the second square and go across, that will give you just about, and I don't think I got that in.
I don't think they could see it.
Okay, can you see that yet? Okay, so I'm gonna come from the corner of this square, these are 1/8 of an inch squares, to the top of the second one, and that will give you just about 30 degrees. It's perfect, but nobody's checking. Well, there's a few crazy people. But as you get ready to put a new mark down, just quickly do this one little movement and you'll be right. Unfortunately, we have a little something that happens. And we have to change. No, we have to change what we're going to do. When we cross the F and when we cross the T, we have to change the angle to about 20%. So for those who know how to do it, fine, you can give another lesson. But those who don't, just roll your pen nib a little to the right. Now we're going to steepen it for some other letters and you roll it to the left. So you're going to have the angles are steeper on the B and the W, and the X, it's steep here, and then you flatten it out here. And then this is general, and then you're going to pull it, and you're going to have to play with this to see what you like in the center. The other thing I want you to notice is the O, when we make it, and we're going to make a couple, comes down, and the C and any like letter are flat. They're not flat, but they're flatter, so that you leave a nice open space. In this alphabet, you get your whites and your opens from inside of all your lovely round letters. So I don't think we're going to have time. Maybe we'll have time to go through the alphabet. I hope we can. Do you need a new piece of paper? I've got plenty of paper if you need a new piece. I've got this, so I think I can get, if I can't get it all on there, I'll just.
Well, here's the piece that you have. I can hand this to you.
Okay, just hand me this paper.
You want me to tell them about having a padded.
Yes, I am. There's so many things that I know, and I pushed and pushed and pushed with my students. One of the main things is I'd like you to always have at least a couple of pieces of paper. My board is semi-padded, and then I always put a piece of tape underneath it, because you go in and you kind of dent your paper, and you want a little pushback, a little cushion there. Otherwise, strange things happen. And we're going to be working for the most part from this simple alphabet right here on the very first page. It's very simple. There's a couple of little things that if you're very comfortable, you can do. If you're not comfortable, don't do them. So I'm going to start with the I and the L and the J. And I want you to give yourself a good idea, and I hope you can. Okay, we'll start right here. I hope you can make little marks if you have to, so you know where you're going to write. And we're simply going to slide in straight at 30 degrees. And then hopefully I've got enough income and come down. and gently slide out. The reason we're going to do this so sharply is because next month we're going to talk about bird speaks, and I will make one today for those who just have to finish up their letters. But they're very, very lovely when they're properly done and incredibly ugly when they're not. So now let's do an A, and the A simply, I want you to get this arch, and it's hard. You want to slide in this way. No, we're not going to do an A yet. We're going to do an L because I want you to know you can go here or here or even here to decide how high. I generally do 2 up, but I start at 2 up and go across and come down. So it really makes it about 2.5 higher. And then we're going to come there. And then we're going to do a J. We're going to slide into the J. And I want you to notice that we don't go very far down. Now, generally on the J, you can put a little bounce in there if you want it. I kind of hate as much bounce as I have on the example, but they were for students. So we've done all the easy letters. I'm sorry, but we're through with the easy stuff. Now we're going to do the M and the N and the H and the U, and we're going to sneak the R in there and just maybe the K. So we're going to do the H, and again, make sure you're on your 30 degrees. Put your pen down, and down. And I'm a little too far away from what I'm doing. I'm gonna have to tidy that up a bit. I can't stand it. And then for the K, I come over 2 and come around, and I kind of stop, and then I go up into the ink on both sides and come out. So you're going to come into this ink and into this ink. And that's one of the reasons I am using walnut ink, is so you can see when I go in and when I don't. They look better that on the online than they do on my paper. Okay, so we've done a K, and now we're going to do an H. I thought we were going to do an H last time, and I forgot what I was doing. H is very simple. And now what we're going to do with this is I want you to notice we're going to make an arch. So we're going to start right around here and come and go outside of the second one over and just come off. Now I'm going to let you do the K and the H. If they don't work the first time, do an I in between so you don't copy your mistake.
Faye, would all of your A senders be the same height? Like if you've chosen to do them at 2 or 3?
The H can be wider or less wide, but this just seems to me to be a comfortable width. Are you talking about width or are you talking about height?
A senders, how can they?
Oh, they could be shorter. They can even, I will do an H with a really, really short one. It depends on what you're working on and how you want it to look. And this is a bad H, so ignore it. Just ignore that one. I'll make another one. I can't stand it already. Fortunately, I don't think you can see it. Well, yeah, you can kind of. So I'm going to make a short H. And I forgot what I was doing when I did it. I was getting so hung up on making a short H that I forgot that I wanted to swing into an arch. So that's further down from here. And you can even, although this gets pretty iffy when you come down this far. And then swing into an H. But you can see, you can get it pretty short.
Right. Can you vary those, or if once you set the height at 2?
Oh, no. Well, there's always a good reason for an exception to a rule, but you better have a really, really good reason.
Okay, thank you.
Generally speaking, you want to be consistent, especially when you're doing blocks of text. So is everybody reasonably comfortable with those 2 letters? I know you're not 100% comfortable. So let's do an N and a U, who should look like each other when you turn them upside down. And then we're going to do an M. On this particular alphabet that I showed you, we didn't go in squarely. And there's a reason for that. I generally, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, but because I want you to become accustomed to making just real sharp turn so you can make bird's beaks, I'm going to have you be quite sharp with it for right now. But we're going to do the N, and the N should look an awfully lot. And I hope this, no, I've got to move it a little farther over. That's as far as I can get. I'll have to come down. Okay, the N is going to have this nice arch. And I just kind of come out, and I don't do a lot with it. They're not like an italic N where we use it as almost a join and a spacer between itself and the next letter. These are not, that's not their purpose. And then we're going to do a U. We're going to come in sharply, come down, and right here, can you see where I am? We're going to start our turn. We're going to come up in there with a little flip so that we can cover that up and come out. And you want to have this little place right there. And we're not going to do really, you kind of come into that, but just barely. Don't come into it too much. And I did on here, and it's all right to do it. But if we're going to do this with the bird's beak on here, then I don't. And there's different reasons for doing different things, different ways. So let's now do the M. And the M, we're going to tighten up the inner space just a little, but it needs to be pretty wide. And we're just going to come in. And if I forget and do things that you guys don't understand what I'm doing, just remember that I'm so comfortable with this particular alphabet that I just do it and I don't think about what I'm doing. And the little things that crept in it that I always do that I don't really teach because they're just little things. And I think I'm going to put the T and the F at the end of these. but I'm going to do the R on this, and then we're going to practice. We're going to do an R, same way, come in, come down. Oh, this is bad. Ignore that. And I want you to swing a little so that you're aware that that's there, to fill in that space just a little. Then you're going to come up quite high, not here, but almost here, about halfway. And at the same degree, you're going to come out and you're just going to do that. And then I'm going to do and it can kind of almost come down, or you can do it like that. This is for the ends of words, or if you have two R's together sometimes. But it is really a spacing nightmare if you use it with them. And then this one, you kind of come back on.
Can you do that first R again, please?
Yes. Okay, we're simply going to go into it. Come down. And then right about halfway, I'm going to come, and I swing up and come out and do that. It's just a graceful little mark. And we like it, don't we? Yeah.
Thanks.
And I'm going to have you do those for about, because there's a lot of them. I'll give you about 7 or 8 minutes. And I'll drink water. Because I deserve it.
Sorry to ask so many questions, Faye.
Hmm?
When you come down and are going to meet the writing line, do you actually start your curve slightly before you get to the writing line?
This little curve,
Uh-huh.
it starts right there.
So
If I get it sharper. Yeah, it starts about if you're doing the little squares, I would say somewhere about, I'm really starting up here, but in my mind, I'm starting right here. But because just like when you're driving, you start thinking curve, but you don't jerk your wheels real fast. Then right about here, it starts to curve. So it's really almost on the line, but not quite. This one looks like it's on the line, but it isn't. You'll see the curve is really right there.
Thank you. Thank you for all your expertise.
Those things are very subtle, but they make a big difference. And you'll find that when you do them, they're all going to do about the same thing because you're going to make it into a habit. You don't want to do it too high or you get these fish hooky things on there. And there's your looking for fish. Has everybody had a chance to do at least a couple of those? Yeah. Can you start to see how comfortable and readable this alphabet is? I think that's it's. To me, that's one of the lovely parts of it, especially if you're working with a lot of text. Because it has so much air in between the letter itself. They seem to breathe. This is the letter form I go to first. I mean, I'm just scribbling it. They're really, really casual italics. Yeah. This is a great letter form to me. Is everybody ready for the T and the F?
I think so.
That's good because we're going to do it. Okay. Generally speaking, interlinear space, I like to leave at least 2.5 spaces. I generally work really quite short because I don't like a lot of space in between. It depends. Sometimes I do like a lot of space in between. And some of this alphabet really grew out of Carolingian. Carolingian mimics some really old Roman lowercase. This is a minuscule. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do the T and here. And the T needs to be a little taller so that you don't, I got too much black right there. I like to go up at least one space and I just do this to get into it. Well, maybe I do that to get into it. Maybe I don't even get into it. Just do this and come down. I don't leave almost any entrance because it disturbs the shape. And then I'm going to, like I said, tilt my pen to the right and flatten it and come across. And I want these to line up as best as we can make them, okay? The F is a little trickier. And the rules are you're supposed to go way down, and I'm going to truncate that because I hate it. Okay, everybody. I'm going to start as if I were making a very simple, except to come in, and now I'm coming down instead of going the other way, and I'm going to come down 2 squares, and I'm just going to put a tiny foot on there. And I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to swing as graceful atop as I can, and I'm going to pull a little. For those who are very comfortable with this, come and pull just a little down so that you have just this little tiny bit coming down. And this got a little square. I try to get that round look, and I usually do, but I'm doing this so slow. Then we're going to flatten it out and come across. And again, I want these to get really close to matching. You can literally just chop it off right here if you have to. because it's a very awkward letter, and I kind of hate how square I made that. I'd like you to look on the exemplar and notice that I want this to be here's the exemplar, and I want it to have this kind of a top, if you can manage to make it. Let's see if I pull that. Okay, yeah. See how nicely that curves? And usually I don't just do this. I slide into, when I come to start it, I literally curve as I come. It's a little harder to do, and that's why I just gave you an entrance. It's very simple. And it is technically fun how they do it, but it needs to have that graceful because it's such a big, long, awkward letter anyway. But try to give that nice little curve. And if I did it, I would, when I was doing this, I would have just literally pulled a curve as I came down. But I know when I say that, people are going to make big giant curves, and it mustn't have a big giant curve. So I'm going to let you do your T and your F, and then we're going to start on the rest of the letters.
Could you do another F, please?
Yes, I will. Hopefully I can make a decent one this time. Or not. Okay, so generally speaking, like I say when I do it, doing, and I'm curving as I go. Yeah, sure you are. Faye. And I put a little foot on. Now I come back and I curve out and I pull a little this way. And then I just go across. And that. Now I can make this taller or shorter. I think in this case, it probably needs to be a little taller. And I made this the wrong way and I cheated. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. There's so many places I cheat because I've done it so long. But this is a good F right here. So this is the one I want you to see. I'll do hundreds of those. It's good on the screen too. And that's good. It does look good. Excellent. Okay. That's I like to have that curve in there. It just needs it. Oh, it does. It's such a awkward letter. And I never go below the line, but technically you're supposed to. I teach, I try to teach as close to the basic. Okay. Everybody's made perfect Fs. Let's start with Mama O. And we're going to make any letter that mimics Mama needs to be made in 2 strokes for the curves. Now, when you work very small, you don't have to, but we're not working small. So what we're going to do is we're going to start right about, here. And I want you to think as you do it because there's some tricks. And we're going to pull and make a circle as best we can. Then our eye is going to be staring. We have a really thick eye here, but it's going to be staring here. We're going to stare at the other half. All right. So we're gonna go in and we're gonna watch the other side of our O. And our brain, who is smarter than our hand, will mimic what it sees. Now, because O is a funny letter, don't be afraid to get back in the ink and give yourself a little more shape if you need it. If you learn to work with the flat of your pen and both corners, or your pointed pen while the ink is wet, your corrections will not show. Well, they will with walnut ink, because every time you lay something down on walnut ink, it shows. But that's why we're using it. Okay, so we've done Mama. And I want you to do about 3 of those. Do ooh, ooh, ooh. I think I just painted myself. I don't know who all joined. Sometimes I can look at it and sometimes. Oh, O's and S's are the 2 most difficult.
And
letters.
especially when you have 2 O's together or 2 S's together.
Oh. Toughy. Well, I cheat sometimes and kind of overlap them. I mean, I do all kinds of things to make them work. Okay, let's do a B. We're going to enter at a nice flat angle. We're going to come down. When you get just almost to the bottom, you're going to come across. You can make it more curvy or less. And then we're going to come into the ink, pretending we're doing an O, and we're going to swing out and pull around. And we're going to join. And then we're going to do a C. Come across. Come up. Back in the ink. And right here again, like I do on the F, I'm going to pull off this direction and make the tiniest little mark to finish it. Otherwise, it just kind of hangs out there. And notice that again, I really want these to line up as good as I can get them. This can be a little longer, but this must never be longer than this, because it distorts. Tops have to be a little littler than bottoms. And I am proof of that. Okay, so I need to move this up. Let's do the D. I have a little trick for the D. It breaks one of the rules, but we're going to do it anyway. Yeah, I think I'm going to go way up here. Okay, on the D, we're going to start the D, make a nice, generous D, and we're going to go over so we're sure we're in to the next. Now I'm going to come down. I'm not going to put the top on yet, and I made this very wide, but that's all right. And right here, when I join, that's when I swing out. And now I'm going to put the top back on so I can make sure I get in there. Now I made that too wide, so we're going to ignore that and pretend they never did that. Because you turn the paper over if you did one of those. Okay, now I'm not quit thinking about it and start just making one. And now I know I want it right here. It's easier to do these. I'm still making them wide and I have no idea why.
Oh, they're based on another. Oh,
Well, I didn't, yes, but this is not a really wide letter for.
well, you have to tell your brain now.
So it should be over here, just so you know, that is supposed to be about right there. I guess I could make one more. I know how to make them. Of course you do.
Unfortunately,
But the good news about doing it this way, and now I've got a crooked back, is that when you feed it in, it's still wide. For some reason, I've determined to make wide ones.
that looks way better.
But anyway, and somebody taught me this, if I will put that last mark in, then it doesn't matter if I missed it like I did, because when I pushed it in, I won't have this little hangy out thing or have to try to cover it up. So let's do the E, and then we're going to make the E in 3 strokes. I don't usually, and so I hope I can remember that I do on this one when I'm teaching it. And they come across, and like Mama, I'm going to pull down, and then I'm going to come here and go across. Now, the reason, like Mama, I'm going to pull down is because this has to give us this sense, and I usually do it a little less, and I get it right in there, and then if I can't get it like I want it, I can use that ink to just kind of shape it. But if you do a flat one and come from here, you're going to end up way down here. You don't want to. You mustn't end up past the center line. Or it starts looking really bizarre. That looks good. Let's do the P and the Q. And the P is just a nice letter form. And kind of sail off and sail across. It just needs that little pizzazz. Stick a little pizzazz in there. Then come in, and you're going to make Mama again. Oops, Mama got jagged. And we're going to pull from inside again and come out and join. Now, because the P is the letter it is, we can, if we want, simply leave this last mark off and just pull and make it, but it gets pretty skinny there. I leave it open if I don't finish it with a stroke. I don't try to close it. And a Q, again, we're going to do it like the D. We're going to come around, and I want to walk you through the Q because we're going to come in to this mark. Come down and swing out and give this a little more pizzazz there. And I really gave it too much pizzazz, but and now we can put its little top on because it's almost flat. But I want you to have, and I kind of exaggerated this little entrance, but I want a tiny little entrance there and cut that off about right there. It gets too easy to kind of swing out of that. this alphabet I gave you to look at, in this one, we swing into a lot of things with a curve. That's what you do if you're not using birdspeak. And I only use birdspeak on the tall letters in this alphabet, the ones with ascenders. I kind of like that, and then just let the rest of them kind of swing into them. But you may choose. That's why I've got 2 or 3 things going here. Let's see what, all we've got left is our 3 balls that make up the G. Well, let's just have a little fun with this. I don't want this G, the initial mark we're making, to go below 3. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and come around. Then we're going to come, I gotta get a little more room on there, and I hope everybody can see this. We're going to come around, we'll wrap around that little golf ball, and we're going to make our nice football, and we're going to give our little guy a hat. It's a fun letter to make once you get comfortable with it. It's kind of odd looking if it isn't done right. But you can use this part about a dozen ways wherever you need to have it happen. And then we'll do the slanty, the letters where we go to something a little bit different in a minute. But first, I just want to show you a simple little book done with these very simple little, and this one is called In My Garden. And you can see that the letter forms are pretty basic and simple. And I used stickers. This was something I did to show my students that I would allow them to do stickers, punch out, whatever kind of illustrations they wanted, but they had to have 3 words on each page. And I had more than 3, but it's a counting book. And whatever I copied this on, the copier is brushing off eventually. But I just want you to see that it's a very rich letter form. And I'm trying to do, there you can see that. And you can make it wrap around. So I'm not going to show you the whole book, but I just want you to begin to see the possibilities, that because it's such a simple alphabet, anything that's colored with it just pops. So now we're going to do the ones where we're going to have to be a little manipulative. And we will start with the B. And we're simply going to go from the corner to the corner of 1 square. And we'll be just about on 45. And so we're just going to end this letter in most alphabets isn't terribly wide. In this alphabet, it is. And we're simply going to come down, and then we're going to say, okay, here's the centers of this. I got to come over just about right here and wrap around and join. And that's a really good read, right? Who knew? And we're going to do the Y, and then we'll do the W, because it's just a little bit tricky. Okay, I want you to do the W this way. We're going to go down, and then we're going to come quite close and go down again, and then we'll get this spacing correctly. Then we're going to come back, and then we're going to come back. and you get a pretty decent, you can make this wider by flattening it out than when you do it, if you want to. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I didn't flatten it because I wanted to have a bit of air, but feel very comfortable going from, I want you to get comfortable to go from 45 to 35. And it can be real wide or it can be a little less wide. But we expect our W's. We don't want a squinchy little W. Now we're going to do the same thing with the X. And then we're going to play with the Y a little bit. And the Z, I'm going to let you just have fun with the Z. The X, we're going to again. And you can get a lot of swing on that X if you want to. Now we're going to flatten again and come across and pull. And it's best if you aim for here to cross it, which I didn't. That's a bit better, but then I didn't flatten it as much as I should have. X's, fortunately, we don't have a lot of call for an X. So that's it. I've done some really bad X's that pretend they're not done. So that's just really, I really swing into X's. And then the Z, just have fun with it. Somebody just, I think it was Jackie Sparrow that said, pretend it's a lady holding a teacup ever so daintily. That's what your Z has to be. It has to have just this little touch of and again, we're going to be working flat, 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 and the head has to be a little shorter than the foot. And I almost always flatten my pen and put a little mark on there if there's a lot of room, especially if I'm doing a couple of Z's together. Do Buzzy and you'll find that the Z's are just taking over. And then we're going to do the Y because we're going to do 2 or 3 different versions of Y. And then we're done, except we're not. Okay, so the first one, again, we're going to be working at 45 degrees. And then we're flattening it out and working at that. And we're going to come across. And you can attach this or you can push your pen if you can make your pen push. This one, we come down and we make this all in one movement and push off. And then we come in and join it. That is not my favorite, but it works sometimes. And then there is this one. When we end, we're pushing towards the left. You know, this distorts just a little, doesn't it? Yeah, it's hard to tell how everyone's, I mean, you know, there's just no way to avoid that because of what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Did we forget anything? Did we do the S? Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for somebody to, we don't have an S. Do we need an S? Maybe. No. Okay, I'm gonna let them work on that for a minute before I further confuse them. And we're not going to do the ampersand, but they can trace that ampersand. Again, don't be afraid to put a piece of paper on top of your example and trace. These examples are not quite the right height. I think there's some in there that are the right height, but and I'm pretty sure they were made with a 2, C2. Yeah, they were. These are shorter. They're probably about 3 squares high. And I like the squatty ones, but I also I needed a get more air before they had to do little things. And I did that 22 years ago. Don't think about that. I was thinking about something you and I did in some class. Well, for this, I think this little piece I finished for my daughter-in-law's father. How did it work? It was artistic open. Yeah. Oh, I meant to tell you. Yeah, they're open, just regular. There's hardly anybody in there. It's kind of nice. Their frames are a bit pricier than they used to be, I think. Well, everything's gone up today. Well, it's wood. Yeah, wood is hard to come by apparently. But I don't know if it's Da Vinci or Michelangelo. I think it's Da Vinci frames of the really price. I had, you know, I found one that worked, and actually I've got the whole thing in my car. Taking it with me. It's wrapped so nicely. I shoved it in an envelope that has my name on it, but it's padded. So, okay, how are we doing, everybody? Nobody wants. Is everybody ready to bite the bullet and do the S?
Ready or not, here it comes, because you have a graduation party to get to.
Yep, and we got one more little thing we're going to do, and it's going to take about 2 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit, and then we will be done. Okay, so we're going to do the S. I want you to understand something. If you make a snowman and his head is too big, his head will roll off and people will laugh at you. The S has the same problem. We're going to start here, just below the line, like we did for some other things, like for mama. But now we're going to wrap around a tight little thing, and then we're going to come all the way around, and we're going to do this. Now, Sheila showed me a quick little way if you goofed. And she said, always make sure that the bottom stroke that you add comes farther than that. See, it comes farther out, and then shorten the top stroke. And again, I come almost straight, but then I pull just a little and come in. And I made a really nice S. You did. It looks great. I'm not making any more. Surprise. Okay,
I just wanted to see if that was against the table.
Yeah, it's right there.
Well, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, they look different here.
Well, they look fine.
Yeah,
It's
they look
just-
fine. They can see them.
It's just that it looks
We just have a couple more things, and I'm going to give you a little exercise. Because I do, and we're not going to do this, but if you print it out, I want to talk about the printout, and I want to talk about this one.
Before you do that, Faye, I think I missed the letter A.
Oh, we didn't do an A, did we? No, we didn't. I had one, I had done one this morning, and I thought I'd done one. I did one to warm up. Okay, A, everybody, A. I usually do the A and the S together because they don't fit anything. Okay, when we come across, I want you to do the arch and come down and come out. And that's what you've got, and it can be a little tighter than that, doesn't have to be. Now, if you can, just pull across, but if you can't make your pen do it, do this, and then go back in and do that. And then because I'm a purist, I come in here and pull my pen just the teeniest bit. To get that little head on there. Are there any questions about that? We're really pulling almost straight across. We're not trying to make a circle. The bottom part is the circle. There's other ways to make that A that are very, very graceful, but they're much more difficult, and we're not going to do them today. Okay, I want to talk about this little cover sheet that says bookhand. It's a term for any lettering form that lend themselves to text block. We most often teach it as a beginning alphabet. It's upright with a circle and straight lines. Monoline sans serif, formal serifs. The mother is O, the father is L or I. The ascenders and descenders are shorter than X height. Capital letters are anything you can make fit but look right. They can be distinctly different sometimes, and it's quite interesting and attractive. When you change this alphabet, there are two constants. It must stay readable, and all the mother letters and all the father letters must be consistent within and without the piece or text. We can vary all kinds of things, and next time we will, but we are going to use weight as a contrast if you want to do this exercise, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm not going to do it. We've got just about time for me to talk you through it. And I used a Speedball C2 for this one. Let's see if they can see that one. Let's see. Okay. Yes, for this first one, I'm going to remove this now. Getting in the way. Okay, for this first one, I used a C2. Notice I only practice certain letters because they teach you about all of the letters. Then all of these are exactly the same height. They just changed the size of the pen. That's all we changed was the weight. This is C2, C0, and C4, which I kind of hate. And then I wrote congratulations in 3 different sizes. And I tried to keep them all in the same space. So which ones, if you look, if you have that, or if you can see it on your screen, which congratulations looks the tallest on the screen? If you have your little handout, it will show. If you want something to look taller and more graceful, reduce the size of your pen. If you want it to look strong and squatty, you increase the size of your pen and keep within the same thing. If you write them together and everything's done in this thin little C4, and then you stick congratulations in there in a C0, every eye will go to the heavy one. And these will look, this letter form will look taller. The other thing I want you to notice, I deliberately left a little flying white in there. When you're working on rough paper, a lot of times you're going to get flying white. That's the, it's a Japanese term. It means the kind of things you see in the sky, the clouds, and they love it. And so do I, but you don't want it to look like a mistake. But when it happens and you're working and it's going to happen 2 or 3 places, let it happen. But also, if you get that and you want to dress it up, you can throw a little color in those spots. And wow, just the drop of color right in those 2 little places, everybody will look at that G. Because our human eye wants color. So, and I want you to see the 2 exemplars. If you printed this out, you will see Charles Pierce's, and you never make more beautiful letters than Charles Pierce. I was lucky enough to have 2 or 3 classes with him when he was still teaching, and he hasn't been teaching for a long time. And then again, I was lucky enough to have 3 classes with Larry Brady when he was still teaching. And his Roman, he calls them Roman, and Charles calls them foundational. What does Jackie call them?
Foundational.
Foundational, and Sheila calls them
Foundational.
Okay, generally they're called foundational. They're very seldom called bookhand, except most people call them bookhand, and it's not really their name. I just call them common bookhand because then they understand what I'm talking about. But you look at the copies. Larry's show you about where they're supposed to sit within the space.
You want to show them Larry's? They can't see it.
Oh, can you see that one?
Yeah.
And then this is Charles's, and he walks you through sizes, et cetera, and he also, like I say, he shows you the stroke sequence as you go, and he just doesn't make bad letters. His Y is based on the U, and that is a beautiful way to do it. Ys are funny because they don't quite fit with the alphabet, but feel very comfortable using these to trace. Please do not reprint them without permission. I had permission, and you don't. I can't pass their permission on. So
Charles Pierce does have a little book. I don't know if
yeah, I don't know if he still has that little brown book.
They just did a reprinting of it.
I think they're
Buy
going
it.
to reprint it. I'll find it. I have 2 copies because I love it.
It's one of the best. There's 2 or 3 books that you really should have. And then I will show you the last little.
Here is Charles Pierce.
Yeah, the manual of calligraphy.
The little manual
the
of-
little brown book.
The Little Manual of Calligraphy by Charles Pierce.
The last little book I did is a very simple little book based on a simple wrap. I think I was more showing the wrap than I was but it's called Home on the Color Range, and I simply used colors as a way. But you can see when you go way down in size, these are quite small, how nicely and readable it still is. And don't be afraid to leave a lot of room around these, even though they don't have a lot of room inside of them. And I just made little houses because it was home on the Color Range. And anyway, it was 1999 too. I did a lot of things for my classes to teach them different kinds of ways of doing things. But I would like to ask people to use weight in something they do over the next month, even if it's just somebody's alphabet, somebody's envelope, or fold up some paper and do a little book. Bookhand, foundational bookhand, or a Roman bookhand in a book, especially if it's a simple little book, it truly sings. You will never be sorry when you use it. So go for it. Okay, I'm done. And I left you 20 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And you can stand it.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if I can. I'll
Okay.
mute.
Let's see.
Thank you, Faye. That was awesome.
Okay, remove spotlight. Okay. Do you see a QR code on your screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now, take your phone and open up the camera app, but don't push anything. Just open up the camera app and aim it at that QR code. And a pop-down window should say openpadlet.com. Click on that pop-down window. And something will load. There's a little pink plus on the bottom. If you tap that plus sign, a little pop-up window comes from the bottom, and you have some options. If you took a photo of your homework this last month, you can click that first arrow and select the photo from your photo album on your phone and use that. If you don't have homework from this last month, but you lettered along with Faye, you can click on the camera image and use your phone to take a picture of whatever's on your desk. So if you have homework, take a picture of that. And what will happen is these will all upload to a website and we can look at them together. So get your camera out and post something that you would like to share with us. If you would like to grant me permission to use it on Instagram for the guild, say okay or permission. And if you want me to tag you, make sure to use your handle. So the @ symbol and whatever your Instagram account is. And if you could, we could share it anonymously. I'll just say guild member, but make sure you say okay or permission on there so that I know I can use it. Okay, I see things loading up.
Excuse me. I don't.
The one tricky thing is once it's uploaded, you can't switch your, if it's portrait or landscape. So if you take a picture and it shows up the wrong direction, you have to fix it before you hit save.
I don't even know what I'm doing, but I think I did it.
Oh, that's sad because it means you can't repeat it.
Okay.
Because I finally figured it out, only I didn't remember what it is.
I'm going to stop sharing this QR code page in a minute. So if you need help or getting that, you've got a minute to still figure that out. And then it'll be so exciting because you'll see all your friends' work.
Maybe.
Nope, you will. Trust me, I see it.
If you see mine, I'll be very surprised because I don't know what I did.
If you pressed save, it showed up. If you didn't press save yet.
Well, I think I pressed it twice.
So
Okay.
Brecken,
Yeah, Carol.
okay, so I finally got something on my phone. So now that I'm on my phone, then I don't have the your whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
So maybe you can go through it again next week, next time or something, so
Yeah.
that if I have it on my thing. Okay, appreciate it.
If this works well and we all like it, we can repeat it. This is thanks to Heather Martinez and the Texas Guild who's doing legacies. Okay. Do you see your friend's work?
See somebody's.
I see work. Yes, I do. I see mine is upside or sideways, but that's the way it goes.
Okay. So you can keep posting while we look at this. And if you want to remain anonymous, you can. But if you want to get some pats on the back and have us ooh and ah with your name, as I scroll through them, you can tell us who you are and what you did. Ooh, this looks like a workshop piece.
That's Nancy O,
Nano. What was the favorite thing you learned while doing this?
Well, I've been working hard on trying to be able to do some, the flourishing, and it's still really hard. But it takes practice. I keep practicing.
Right. And you're just gonna do the
I think it's lovely.
the capitals.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Okay, wait, okay.
It's hard to get them to look natural,
It is. Okay. Tilt your head.
It is.
Is this Liz?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, Liz.
Yes, that's mine. And I just did all the from A to Z, all the places I've been. However, I think one place, I'm not sure I was there. I think I was in Xenia, either Ohio or Illinois. But,
Which one?
but I just didn't know, but I put it on there
Well, you've been-
because I needed an X, but I have been in Zanesville, but all the rest of them I was there, and I have a second page, but that's okay.
Hello.
I thought I'd just do the countries.
Well, I did cities, and I some things looked okay, some things didn't.
I think it's beautiful.
Beautiful, very nice.
Thank you for sharing, Liz.
Yeah, well,
Bracken, it seems that if you tap on it when you're looking at the app, that makes it large.
Yeah, you have control on your phone. You have control as well as looking at it on the screen through Zoom. Okay, someone was busy at work.
well, way to go. That looks great. Someone was really working on bookhand or humanist hand or humanist bookhand or foundational hand or Roman.
Or Roman, whatever you call it.
Roman minuscules.
Yes, yes.
Good. Who is that?
That's Gail, me, Gail Cook.
Gail.
Oh,
She got her name right in that. She
good.
put her name.
Oh, I see your name is in there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
good job.
Gail, this O before the
That's
G.
really good. Nice F's in there.
That O is gorgeous. Whoa.
Love the way Faye teaches. Thank you, Faye. Makes it so easier to understand. Thank you. So much easier.
She's a good teacher. She's had a lot of
Yes.
practice.
Sometimes more successfully than other times.
Well, there you go.
Thank you for sharing, Gail. Okay.
That was nice to see somebody that,
Yeah.
she did some really nice stuff.
Yes, she
That's
did.
Nano again.
Nano. It's lovely.
That was done in a hurry for a funeral. It was a little quote that the young man had in his journal. And
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
How did you do the marbling on the
that is a permanent ink with a stick. And then you let it dry and add watercolor. Then you, and I think I don't know, it doesn't matter.
done, and it's beautiful and gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh, that's mine, Janice.
Janice, it's lovely.
Thanks. Oh, beautiful L, Janice. Thank you.
I'm gonna turn this light up.
Okay. I think I know who was this because I recognize her handwriting.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got a little book out. Were you going to show that?
No,
No, I just took it off the shelf so I could reach. Oh, a little manual. Yes. No, I wasn't. But.
Okay. This was mine from today.
This is my collage book.
Oh, you even have your baseball and football.
I love it too.
And then my lines were so light, I couldn't see where the half inch was, and boy, did that show.
I think we know what we're doing now. I think we do. Now, did you leave anything? Is there anything? Okay. Do you want help out?
Oh, the advanced homework, a wedding.
Yeah, well, okay. My son formally proposed last night. And so this is actually with this straight holder, not the oblique holder. I've actually been working back and forth. We're not going this direction. We're going to be buying them from somebody I found on Etsy with Michigan. So we're really happy. But this, I found these invitations very difficult to do. And I have a lot more respect for Susie Cunningham, who does it full time stuff, and people who do these. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do envelopes now. I decided I'm going to print them out.
That W is beautiful, Matt. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is.
and her name? Hermelinda? Ermelinda?
Ermelinda. We call her Linda. She's the youngest of 12 children, and Tristan's an only child, so this is going to be interesting.
Well, no, the youngest gets probably as spoiled as an only child. So maybe they'll be understanding. That's
Yeah, I
great.
think they will.
Oh,
So we're
that's
excited.
how old is he?
Tristan's 27 and Ermelinda is 32.
Wow. How cool is that?
So,
I
and
love
they
it.
met on Mutual, the LDS dating app. So
I'll be darned. Where's she from?
Oaxaca, Mexico.
Oh, how exciting. That's thrilling. I'm so happy for you. That's wonderful. And I love that they're older because it makes a big difference in background and experiences and just the whole thing. I think that's terrific. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
And Liz got her next one. I assume this is Liz.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty.
That D on Sydney. When I grow up, I want to be able to make a D like that. And here with mine, I only made it through these capitals, and boy, I'm the rest of them.
They are
It's not as though you haven't been doing anything, Brecken. That's beautiful.
I really like your R's. I'm struggling with R's and get them to work, and B's to look right.
You got to think big on the left, Matt.
Yeah. The secret is that I took a 4-week workshop with Pat Blair, and it was called Beyond Copperplate. But what it was all of the little teeny nitpicky stuff that you don't ever tell a beginner. And so I can finally make a B and think, that's not ugly.
It's beautiful. Yeah, those are beautiful.
It was a wonderful class. The setup was really, she did 2 hours every Monday morning, and it was through a guy in Hong Kong. So it was 6:30 in the morning on Monday, but we had 2 hours of instruction and then the week to practice what she gave us. And the format had a place where we could upload our homework and make comments on each other's. And we finished it off. I'm still working on the rest of the capitals, but it was really great. And I didn't have the workshop overload because it was spaced out. And she is teaching another class through that program, where she's bringing, it's called basically it's a layout and design class where you pick a letter style, and then she's going to show how to both manually paste it up the old-fashioned way and then use computers to do it and get something ready for printing. It's on the Gentle Penman. I can't remember if it's .com or .org.
Why don't you find out, and then we'll put it up on the web. I'll put it up. I'll send out an email for everybody.
GentlePenman.com.
Okay.
.com.
Oh, yeah, .com. So this was the class, and the nice thing was, can you see my screen? Is it showing a
Yeah.
golden color? So this was the class that we did. And so all the handouts were here on this website. The recordings are here on this website. We get them for 30 days. The class demos are uploaded to this website so I can download them. And then the discussion board was the best thing, to see what each other were doing, and Pat would respond to each of us with our thing, with what respond to our questions and also give us special tips. So let's see.
That's a beautifully simple website.
It's really nice. And he does a great job of corresponding with you. And let me see. It's called Design Studio is the class that she's teaching. That I need a patron so I can take all these classes.
I'm assuming Hong Kong dollars is different than American dollars.
It is. Yeah, it's different. I think it.
So how much was it for 4 weeks?
I'm really horrible with numbers. I'm better with letters. It was reasonable. It was about, I want to say 120, maybe 150.
Not
Well, that's great.
Not 780, huh?
Yeah. So the format was really great. Some of the time is awkward because it's for Hong Kong, but it was all in English.
Hello?
And it was really great. Okay. So did we like this homework sharing option? Will you
Yeah, I think it's great.
Yes.
prepared to share more next time?
I'm hoping I understand it. I'm not sure what I did, but I did it.
You followed her directions and that was
Yes,
good.
I did.
When you're on Padlet and it says enter URL, how do you know what URL to put there?
Oh, so to find this one again, this is you can copy and paste that link to
Okay.
find this Padlet. And I just used the free version, so it will run out of space eventually, but you get, for free, I think you get 4 different pages that have a certain amount of space on it. So we'll use them up and delete as necessary so that we can still bask in each other's great letters.
This is fantastic because trying to share your work is kind of tricky without a wall or something. So I love this.
This is great.
So, if you didn't see, Erica put the Asian market locations into the chat.
Oh, good.
It's really easy to get there too. If you just take the Roy exit, where there's only one, and you go west and right over the train tracks, and then you're on to 1900 West. And it's on the corner that's on the south west of there. You can't miss that market there. It is an old Albertsons. So it's just south and west of 5600 and 1900 West.
I'll be coming up that way to find one of those water drippers. I want one of those things.
Meet for lunch.
I have to try and find mine now since I know what it does.
Okay,
That will be a
stop
task.
the recording unless there's anything else we need recorded.
I think not.
So we're off for the summer then.